Fred Weir, journalist and political commentator, joins us from Moscow. We also have Glenn Diesen, professor of political science at the University of Southeastern Norway, joining us from Oslo. Welcome to you both. Fred Weir, let me first start with you. When it comes down to this New START treaty, Russia is being blamed for pulling out of it, but when you take a look at the reasons as to why it did that, especially the explanation given by the Russian President Vladimir Putin, and given what's happening in the Ukraine conflict, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Well, it's a dire signal, no matter how you look at it. You know, we did grow up in a world where the two big nuclear powers, who have like over 90% of the nuclear weapons, had subscribed to processes of arms control, you know, all kinds of verification procedures, back channels for communications and crisis management. All that has been going out the window for almost 20 years. And it's mainly the American side that has abolished treaties. I mean, they've pulled right out several, from the ABM treaty to the INF treaty, the open skies. The Russians haven't actually pulled out of the treaty. They've suspended their participation. But it is a warning that things are getting that bad. They don't want to continue with the verification process, which is the main feature, you know, the visits to military installations by the other side to check and count and do all that. That's all gone. And nobody can cheer. I mean, absolutely nobody can say this is a good thing, but you can see why they're doing it, and I think that they're doing it to warn the Americans that it can't be business as usual in some areas where the Americans want it to be, and all this other stuff with Ukraine going on the other hand.
Well, Glenn Diesen, if it's supposed to be a warning, like our guest there says, are the Americans heeding any warnings coming from Russia? It looks like it's just on deaf ears.
Well, so far we appear to be stuck in this escalation spiral, and I think the Americans understand the severity of this, because the arms control agreements have been collapsing one after another. Now, yes, it's correct that it's the United States that unilaterally pulled out of, you know, everything from the ABM treaty to the INF agreement, open skies. So this is this is quite problematic, but and I think the Americans realize that this is a disaster. Correctly argued before, everyone loses here. This is the last remaining agreement, and especially in this situation, we need more transparency. But obviously, the reasons why Moscow pulled out also are quite understandable. I mean, well, like, not canceling the agreement, but suspending it, because they, of course, are reluctant to have the United States around, you know, around their strategic nuclear weapons at this point in time. Keep in mind that the Engels air base in Russia has been attacked twice by Ukrainian drones, and there's good reasons to believe that both the drones, the funding of the drones, the intelligence from in terms of how the drone should approach the airbase, there's good reason why all of this would have been supplied by the United States. I'm not saying it necessarily was, but there's good reasons to do so. So given that NATO and Russia now are like de facto in war, it's quite reasonable to suspend it, to suspend inspections. But I hope that this is something that the West, and especially then the Americans, are taking quite seriously, because there is a need to de-escalate at some point and get these agreements back on track. And I'm happy that Moscow hasn't ruled it out and only suspended it, so we can return to this agreement.
Okay, we're going to end it there. Unfortunately, we're fresh out of time. Let me thank Fred Weir, political analyst from Moscow. Thank you. And Glenn Diesen, professor of political science at the University of Southeastern Norway. Thank you. And with that, we come to an end for this edition of the News Review. Thanks for tuning in.